Hallo, guten Tag. Heute haben wir ein Spiel von Martin. Martin kommt aus Deutschland und deswegen werde ich das ganze Video auf Deutsch sprechen. Also, fangen wir an. Okay. Okay, just kidding. Sorry. I don't get to speak German very often, so I thought I'd throw in a little German joke because today we have a game from Martin, who's from Germany. So I thought I'd throw in a little German as a joke. Martin plays black in this game, taking 3 stones from his opponent. These rankings are, his opponent is 3 dan, and he is ranked about 1 Q by EGF. I think EGF rankings are a little bit stronger than AGA, so 1Q, I don't know. I don't exactly know what the conversion is, but 1Q, I'm probably still like 3 or 4 stones stronger, so hopefully I'll have a few good things to say about this game. Since it's a 3-stone handicap game, the opening, I'll have a couple things to say, but mostly the opening is just always going to be good for black, kind of, so I won't have too much in the opening, but there are some interesting conflicts that I would like to go into. Also, Martin left a lot of comments about what he thought of certain positions, so that will make it a lot easier on me because I can directly respond. Okay, so black approaches, white approaches the other corner, and in the game, black played a pincer. Looks good. He said that in a previous game, here it says, in an earlier game we had this fight which didn't go so well for me, so this time I tried something different. And I wanted to point something out about this fight. Black has 3 handicap stones, or 3 extra stones, right? Whoops. So these are the 3 extra stones that black started the game with. This fight in the upper left is not good for black because the handicap stones are too far away. Black can't use them to fight. So this fight, actually white is much stronger because white has this stone here. So this is probably why the game didn't go so well previously, because black started a fight where white was strong. So I think it's still this F3 defend the corner is still fine, but if I were black in this situation, rather than play this knight's move press, normally something like this happens and then black extends, but white can push through and cut to fight also. So rather than the knight's move, maybe black could just extend along the top. And one way to kind of judge a position early on is to see, do any of your stones look stupid? Like, are any of black's stones over-concentrated or poorly placed or useless? And at this point, I think all the stones for black still look fine. So that means that black still has a 3-stone advantage. So something more peaceful like this could still be fine. But pincer, it's more active, and it separates white's upper left corner from the approach stone. It separates A from B, so that looks good. And right into the corner. When I play white in handicap games like this, I don't like to go into the corner like this, because after this, the normal pattern, white has some solid territory, but black is really strong on the outside, and it's difficult to fight well when your opponent is really strong. Also, it gives black this perfect move. C13 looks just dynamite. It extends from the influence, and it pincers white's C16 stone. So rather than just go into the corner, white is already behind, so I would probably think about jumping and then attacking and starting a fight in this area. It's pretty difficult, but white has to make overplays like this in order to catch up in a handicap game. But after this, here white kicks here, but I think white almost always plays this diagonal, or maybe white can attach like this. But this kick, it just makes black stronger. Now black has strength on the left side with this A group, and these two stones are also stronger. So I don't really like it. Martin left a comment that he really didn't want this, where if so black jumped here in the game, white pushed, and in the game Martin played a 3-space extension. He said he didn't want to do just 2 spaces because he didn't want this, but I think this is actually terrific for black. After black plays this jump, white is split into two. Well, the A stone is definitely weak, and the B corner is not really that strong. It's almost completely surrounded. So I think if white, for instance, plays this extension, then black can cover on the outside, or here, to completely surround the corner. And it seems like white is going to have to struggle a little bit. And then black can come over here, close out this corner, and look to attack the 2 white stones here. So maybe after this, let's say black surrounds here, and white says, I think my corner's fine, no problem. So, whoops. So white goes into the corner in the upper right. Then there's this, and extend. And we've got the carpenter's square. White has outside liberties, so I don't know my carpenter's squares that well, but it doesn't look that good for white. This is the vital point. I don't really know the result. I probably should study this more, but usually white gets a ko in this situation, a ko for the corner, but in this case, maybe because white has 3 outside liberties, it's still okay. But still, black gets all of these moves, which are really nice influence for the center, which works well with black's wall down here. And white is going to get, what, at most, like 6 points in the upper left? So I think this would be okay. Keeping white split like this. In the game, though, black played 3 spaces. Okay. White invades immediately, and we get this sequence. So Martin says in the end he was quite satisfied, but something in the corner was fishy. Probably, I think this result is great for black. If we look at white's territory, white has 5 points here, plus 8, plus 3 more. So that's 16 plus maybe a couple other points. So at most 20 points in this corner. Whereas black gets really, really, really nice influence for the center, and this upper side also looks really nice for black. So maybe something was a little bit fishy, because after here it looks like it should be difficult on white in this corner, like white should be completely surrounded. I guess white ends up being completely surrounded, but white got a little bit more territory. But still, I think this is a result where it's like if there's a full pie or a cake or something, and you and another person are splitting it up, it'd be fair if you took half and your opponent took half. And I think this result is like black took 65% or 70%, and white only got 30%. So I think it's pretty good for black. I don't think black needs to be too greedy and get too much more. All those calories add up, you know. Okay, so approach here, and this looks really good to keep developing the center. And then, in my opinion, I'm not that much stronger than the players here, so take most of these opinions with a couple grains of salt, but I think this is a mistake. It sort of neglects all of the big influence that black built on the left, and it's like If you compare the amount of points that black makes with this move with the amount of points that black can solidify with a move like this, I think that R6 is a little bit too passive. Martin says, here I wasn't sure what to do. I hope this would make white's formation on the side a little uneasy. In any case, white would probably want this approach move too. I agree completely. And specifically, I think it makes white formation a little uneasy, but only a little bit. If you really want to put pressure on the white formation, you should definitely approach all the way. This puts a lot more pressure on the two white stones on the right side because it threatens a lot of stuff right away, like if white plays, I don't know, somewhere else, like maybe the corner, alright, whatever, something like this, then this invasion is really painful. Or even with this helping stone here, black could try a fourth line invasion, which is a little bit uncommon, but in this case it cleanly splits white. So maybe black could try this. But this is only possible with the stone on R8. If instead, as in the game, black has the stone on R6, then this doesn't really work. But anyway, in handicap games especially, I really like moves like this. If you think that this move, and I do think that this move solidifies this A area into like solid territory, then it's worth about 40 points. This, let's see, oops, F8? Okay, got it. It's like a 7x7 box, and black probably won't get all of it, so I round down to like 7 times 7 would be 49, but I round down to say it's like 40 points because it'll get reduced a little bit. If this is a solid 40 points, that's already more territory than white has in the upper left and the bottom left combined, right? Because if the top was like 20 maximum, down here is like 12. So this is already more than the upper left and the bottom left combined. Plus, black still has a really nice formation on the upper side, and still has the Q4 corner. So, especially in handicap games, I think a move like this to solidify your position and make the game a little bit simpler, I think these can lead to success. And this one, it really only makes territory in the corner, but it's not nearly as big as this one. Because if this, so there's still a ko, right? Like white can still look for this ko in the corner or whatever. This is like the general sequence to start a ko. But even if there weren't a ko, this is still only 15 points in the corner. So I think it's a little bit too small. And white invades because white is losing, because it's a 3-stone game, so white has to take some chances. And I think that black handled this pretty well. I didn't really see any mistakes or any big problems. White connects, but it's gote, so the end result, white maybe makes 5 points here and reduces black by about 15. So maybe about 20 points, but it's gote, and it makes black still rock solid on the outside. Lots of really strong influence. So I think that was good mitigation. Black was able to keep the damage to a minimum and keep the wall strong. So I didn't really see anything in this sequence that I would have done differently. To block here, it looks a little bit, Martin said, here with this variation, I really only saw ugly shapes and things I didn't want for black, so I didn't play this way. And it does look, it looks risky, right? Black can play this peep and jump to try to surround. Then there's a cut, and even this, and then cut here to connect out because this long chain is getting surrounded. But then Atari, and here, and this cut, it looks risky, right? If black is somehow able to kill this, then it's a huge success and probably the game is over. But if white is able to live, and it looks pretty difficult to kill after this. If white is able to live, then a lot more of black's territory is destroyed than with the actual game variation. So I think there's nothing wrong with this. But if black has an extra stone here, I'm pretty sure black should be able to kill this. Because black can play a lot more aggressively. And if you imagine, let's see, where was that variation? This one. If you imagine it's like this, but black, instead of this stone on R6, if it's up here, then this looks fairly killable because white has a lot less breathing space. Or maybe this is better. It looks like one eye maximum. And this stone makes a big difference. If this stone, again, if this stone is over here, then white can jump out, and it looks possible to save this group. So, okay, so moving on from that, this invasion, nice. And this, I don't know, like 95 out of 100 times, white should play here, I think. That's what my teacher Insang told me. Maybe you probably know, or at least have heard of Huang Insang, because I think he's the #1 rated player in Europe, and I think he does some teaching and stuff. So Insang says that this is probably 95% of the time this one is played. And the sequence, there's 2 ladders to look for. Black's wedging here is the strongest, but black needs 2 ladders in order to play this. So if white Ataris and connects, then there's this ladder, which is good for black. But then there's also, rather than playing this connection, white can Atari, black plays counter Atari, and then this ladder. And this G3 stone breaks the ladder, I believe. Because this one, so the ladder starts 1 to the right of the star point, so black should have a stone here. This, yeah. So this one does not work. Therefore, black can't play the wedge, so black will push. And this is a normal result. And in this result, with the A stone on the 4th line, there's a bit more Aji in the corner if white tries to invade later with B. I'm not sure in this case if it's possible to live, but pretty difficult, but some Aji there. But I think this result for white would have been much better than the actual game, because even white still has some chances in the corner. Even if it doesn't work in a handicap game, you might get lucky, right? Which you kind of have to, because you start off at such a disadvantage. But this group in the center has pretty good shape, and it's well placed to start to negate all of the influence that black has on the left side of the board. If we look at the actual game variation, white just goes into the corner, black blocks, and then black fixes here. So white gets another 8 points maximum, but black gets more thickness that's almost, I mean, there's this cut, but it's not really anything black has to worry about. There's Yeah. Oh, well, not that. That would be game over. But, I mean, there's this Atari, whatever. Basically, this cut exists, but for the most part, black's influence is just stifling. There's so much. Really difficult for white to do anything. So white attaches here, and so Martin said that this kind of variation, this is exactly what he doesn't want, because he gets the corner, but white gets some fourth line stones that will help to reduce the center. And so at this point, clearly black has an enormous, overwhelming amount of influence. So black wants to keep playing for the center. So he plays the outside hane. And then this, he said, this is the same result I didn't want. It's slightly better, but this isn't what he should have done. And he gave this other variation. This would have been better. I do think this looks better in this game. If white cuts, black just extends. White still needs a move in the corner to live, and then black can cover here. And it looks like black is going to make about 400 trillion points in the center, roughly. White has all four corners, so probably... I mean, like in terms of cash, I don't know. I would almost be tempted to call this center cash at this point. But basically, I'm sure white is going to have to invade like this somehow and try to live. And if white lives, then maybe white can win. Otherwise, obviously, black has just an enormous, enormous center. I think 400 trillion was probably underestimation. So I do think this extension in particular, 03, is really important to keep white pressed down. That looks better than the game. Although the game variation isn't terrible. This is a pattern, but it's generally considered to be pretty good for black, because black gets a lot of territory in the corner. And white's influence, black plays here, okay, to keep... Martin says, this basically just admits I made a mistake in the corner. Something like this is necessary. So basically, Martin feels that even though he got a lot of points in the corner, he gave white too much. It's like he gave white a base to jump off from to start to reduce the center. So if white plays, well, let's just go ahead a couple moves. White plays this, but with these stones here, it looks like, you know, moves like this become a lot more possible to reduce the center because white has these friends here to jump to. Whereas in the other, where was it? This way, when white invades like this, there's nowhere to run. There's this stone, but this stone already is pretty weak. So, this is okay, because black does get some good cash in the corner, but I agree that it's a bit worse than what could have been. Here, I couldn't see, in the game black played this extension, but I couldn't see why black didn't play this hane. Because it makes a tiger mouth, which is pretty good shape, and it separates the A and B stone from C. I can't see the problem with this. If white extends, then okay, black goes down, and as we'll see, this is better than the game for sure. It's similar, but much better for black. And if white tries this, then Atari and go down? It looks pretty difficult for white. Oh, there's this cut. Okay. This cut. Interesting. Here? Then maybe this and this to connect? That would be pretty bad. Okay. When I was reviewing this before, I went through some variations in the corner, where if white tries to kill the 3 stones here, then black has a pretty cool tesuji, which is this one. White can't play the hane because this works. Oh wait, does it? Here. One. Throw in. I guess white can make a ko at the least. Otherwise here, 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 here. So it looks like there's something. Okay. But that cut, this cut, extend, then white plays this, and the 2 stones are captured on the side. Huh. Okay. So what about this? But then push, block, clamp, and it looks like white almost definitely has enough liberties now to kill these stones. Okay, so I think I figured out why. Maybe just extend? I wonder if... then here, and it looks basically the same. Whoops! I got those colors wrong. Oh, actually, this looks... Huh. Okay, well, I'm sure there's a lot more variations to look at here, but I would say for Martin, maybe if you considered this and you saw that it didn't work, then okay. But if you didn't consider this, then I would definitely take a look at this and the variations to see if there's a way to make it work. Because in the actual game, black goes down, but then after this, it becomes trouble. So black cuts to fight. But this makes it complicated. So if this works, I think it would be better. Because this area should be enough to win. Okay, but in the game, goes down, and here. Okay, so black plays this push. And white fixes by playing this Q8. So my first instinct is, oh, this push is bad. Because white plays this push at A, and it forces white to make this tiger's mouth, or like it invites your opponent to make the tiger mouth, which is a really good shape. So normally you don't want to force your opponent to make a good shape, but in this case, as Martin shows in a variation, the C is a false I, basically, because of the A and B stones. So actually there's a snapback aji. Martin plays this, and then white plays elsewhere. White can't play this hane because Atari, and then there's a snapback. So it seems okay in this case because this making the C a false I creates lots of shortage of liberty problems on especially the this white D stone, which is the important cutting stone. So okay. Looks fine. And I don't think this is unnecessary. But so what happens if black plays this? If white plays here, then I think this is a really good exchange for black. Black could play this, and it looks like white needs to connect on the bottom. Or maybe black can press more severely, like this. So this looks better than the actual game. This exchange, I don't think it's unnecessary. I think it might just be bad. If you followed up with only this move, then this A-B exchange doesn't really accomplish black anything. The A stone is wasted. If you imagine the stones aren't there, then at the white is still going to have to play a move in here anyway, because later this will be endgame. And if it's like this, then I don't know. It looks. I wouldn't want to force that immediately unless I were trying to kill, because this forces white to make the shape strong. I mean, it's heavy, but it's all solidly connected, so I would call it strong. So to only play the diagonal move, I would want to play this or this if I'm really trying to put pressure on this group. Here, just jump. And it looks pretty difficult to handle. But it's also pretty risky because you're forcing white into your center, so you have to be pretty confident about killing if you want to play this way. Otherwise, your entire center territory is going to be destroyed. But it does look pretty difficult for white. Okay, so this, after this L5, I do think that the M2 N2 exchange is not necessary. And here Martin says, I remembered I was playing for the center. Yeah, this move looks awesome. And here. So black peeps here. And Martin says that he expected white to connect and then black to cover here. But this is wishful thinking. Because, well, in the game, white plays elsewhere, which I think was good to try to break into this part of the center. But even if white responds locally, I think white would fix the cut this way. And then if black covers, there's this attachment to move out. Which looks... Black can't do this because the two stones will die. Or Atari, and push out like this. So there's weaknesses here that are exploitable by white. So rather than play this peep at all, if black wants to play locally, I think black should just play this immediately. Yeah, because I don't... Basically it's the same position, except without this exchange. And this one stone is what allowed white to attach here. In this case, white can still do something. Okay. Maybe this? That looks really ugly, but maybe it's possible in this case. two power triangles. Awesome. But it does look like it basically works. Yeah, so I like this without the peep in this local area. White plays elsewhere, and black cuts, which is pretty big. But still, I think I would play this to completely seal in white down here. Or you could also consider playing this diagonal. And now, maybe this is going to turn this M2 N2 exchange into a good one for you. Because if white connects this stone out, you push and block. And it looks like white can do this to live. But then you can cut. And if white fixes here, this looks dead, right? Yeah, dead. I think. Here? Then... Oh, is this Seki? Oh, it looks like Seki. Oops, but, well, black can play this. And also this will destroy some of white's territory in the bottom left. Interesting. I didn't look at this when I was looking at the game ahead of time, so I apologize for any mistakes there. But yeah, this looks like it is splitting the A stone. Well, the big thing is that it's splitting this A group over here from the corner and the C stone, so it's putting pressure on white's A group especially, but also it's threatening to cut the C stone. So maybe this is one way for black to be aggressive, or there's the simple way to give the entire bottom, but cleanly take the center. And this should probably be enough to win. But this cut is pretty big too, and I guess you played this cut because you wanted to follow up. You thought, okay, well I've got this stone here at S6, so I'm not entirely convinced that white is alive, and that's a good idea. So cut here, take the two stones. And then white fixes here, Atari, and then capture. That is a good capture. You said you knew you couldn't you could Tanuki on the lower right, but you shouldn't. But I disagree. I think this is a really good capture, and we will see why. White plays this. And so for the rest of the game, it's assumed that this shape on the right is alive, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I'll show at the end. At this point, Martin says, at this point I counted that I had enough space in the center to make the points I needed to win. So here, just exchange everything, seal off the center. Martin says this was probably too early. Yeah, I think this capture is pretty big because not only does it make black 2 points here for sure and reduce a lot of the aji in this area, but also it destroys all of these points for white, because if white plays here to try to do something, there's this and this, so there's no eyes. I mean, it's all, white is going to have to fill in all of these spaces eventually, right? Like after, I don't know, this, whatever. Then black will play Atari. So all of the points evaporate there. And if you compare that to black plays this and white fixes, then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7, 8 if white gets to play A11. So that's pretty big. And it does have a follow-up, but which you play here. White can't block because of this shortage of liberties. But still, if black plays this to link up, it took 2 moves to reduce this, which is about 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's about a 6-point reduction. Black had to spend 2 moves to do it. Whereas this one, black makes 2 points and reduces white by about 6, all in just 1 move. So I think this one is much bigger. And also, black should definitely get this because it's Sente. Well, I mean, the Atari is Sente, and then the Link you don't have to play immediately, but it is also a pretty big move in the endgame. Okay, and at this point, the game ends because they didn't have enough time to finish, and they agreed that black would win. And yeah, the center looks too big for white to overcome. So, this right side, I can't say I'm 100% sure, but I am interested. What does white do when black hanes like this? So the main things to look at in this life and death are this eye at A. It can be made a false eye if black plays this Atari B. And if so if instead of the Atari the hane, if black plays this, then it looks like white would be able to play this S8 to make two eyes here and here. And if black plays this hane, white can't play this to turn this into an eye because this turns it into a ko. White will throw in here, and if black just captures like this, then it's black can't connect. So it would be a ko. So white can't play this. It looks like white should play. White also can't play this because then black just makes this a false eye, this A a false eye, and then there's not enough space to live. So it looks like white needs to play here, and then, oh, it looks like, okay, white's got A and B mi. White can play A to turn R10, the C, into a real I, or white can play B to pretty clearly make two eyes. But if black takes B and white plays A, then black has this pretty cool move, which makes a real ko. White can't connect because then I guess black would just connect and it's dead. Or actually, black doesn't even need to connect. This this R10 would be dying in Gote. So white plays this, then it looks like a real ko. So probably white should take this, and it's a ko. So by my reading, black can make a ko with this T10 followed by S8. If white plays S8, then black pushes, and if white plays this, then this makes it a false eye. It's mi to make R10 a false eye. So it looks like black gets a ko here, if I'm not missing anything crazy or basic. It's probably more likely I'm missing something really, really basic. So let's go back to... So this was played, and from here on both players treated this group as alive, but this is basically a picnic ko for black, because the most that black is going to lose, let's say black makes a threat, white ignores, black follows through, this, the absolute most that white is going to get is like 10 points on the side of the board, or maybe 15 because it's rescuing some white stones. But still, this is not really an important area for black, and it looks like black has a pretty good amount of co-threats. There are threats up here against the corner. There's this Atari, which would be pretty big. To capture these three, then maybe the corner is not completely alive. Oh, actually, I guess it'd be fine. If black played this, white can always do this to live. Or maybe just, I guess this is probably enough. Oops. Should be fine. But still capturing the stones is pretty big. And also, of course, there's pushing through here, which is quite a big threat. And then threats here against this group, the white's N3 group. So I think black should probably start the ko immediately and fight it. Yeah, so unfortunately, I feel like I made more comments about white's move than black's moves, but that's just kind of the way it goes when black won pretty convincingly by making this huge territory in the center. So sorry if I wasn't able to point out too much about your moves, but I honestly I think you just played pretty well. That looks really good. I think white needs to come out and keep black stones split. This looks like white is getting enclosed. I think this would be fine to keep white split into two weak groups like this. Yeah, so you were a little bit worried about this, but I think this would have been fine for black. But the in-game result was still good to have really, really nice influence for the center and the top. Here. And this one I think is a mistake. I would prefer this to make the left side solid and help to develop the center also. If you want to put pressure on the two white stones, then I think you should come really close and really put pressure on them. This really only looks at the corner, and I think the bottom right corner is not significant at this point in the game, because black invests so much for the center. To come over here and play for this corner is a little bit inconsistent. So white invades. I couldn't find any way to like totally kill this, but I'm also not the strongest player on Earth. So if anyone has sees a good way to handle this stone, maybe outright kill it, then please leave a comment. Let us know, because I would like to see it. When my opponents play a move like this against me, I'm always like, oh, now it's so risky, because if I kill it, great. If I don't, then it's all destroyed. But I really liked your way of just pressing it down. White only makes a few points, and you keep your wall strong. And you get Sente, so I think that was handled quite well. And this invasion looks good. I don't know about this corner. I don't like taking the corner. After this, black's center is so strong because in each of the three corners, the upper left, the upper right, and the bottom left, each of these three corners, white takes the corner and gives black really nice influence. And if you do it in too many places, then all of these walls all of black's walls work really nicely together to make the center influence overwhelming. So I think white needed a different plan other than jumping in. Something like attaching to try to make something in the center, because giving black all these walls, it's very difficult to fight against. And this could have been better, maybe with a variation like this, where black can press white down again, give white the corner, but take another big wall, and then black is probably going to win by like 450 trillion points. So, but this is fine. Well, I mean, this is not too bad because black does get a really nice corner, and the influence of white is not too great. I'm going to look at this a little bit more afterward. I don't want to think out loud here and embarrass myself too much, but I would be really interested to see if black can play this handi and get away with it, because this looks like better shape, and it looks good to keep A and B split from C. So I would probably play this without thinking too hard, but maybe it is a big mistake where black will end up losing the corner. I'm not sure, so I'm going to have to look at this some more. And if you didn't consider this, I think I mentioned this already, but if you didn't consider this, then maybe look at this also and see if you can find anything good for black. Because second line and letting white sort of connect like this made it a little bit more complicated. And then this exchange, I think maybe it would be better to play here immediately. Yeah, if white plays this to make good shape. If you're being really aggressive, you could play this, or just this and keep white pressed down on the second line. That looks pretty good. Otherwise, if you really want to kill, then I think you should try to play this, but it's pretty risky. And this peep I prefer right here without the peeping exchange, because after the peep I think white should fix this way, and then this jump is a bit more difficult to deal with. So better without the exchange, although you do get to push through and cut the one stone in the game, which is pretty big. So, and you get to follow up here. And then, oh yeah, I mentioned that this capture was big enough, and so I said you should, and the reason I said that was after this, because you captured the one stone at S12, you're able to play T10 to make a ko. If you don't, then white can live. Looks... Oh, I don't know. If that doesn't work, then I'm sure this... whatever. I'm sure white can live like this. Yeah. So this hane. Play the ko for the whole group, and should be easy to win, I think. Right. And the rest of the game was all kind of just, I don't know, nothing special, nothing big occurrences. Yeah, so this ko is possible, so I think even without the ko, black is ahead because the center is so big, but with the ko, it should be pretty easy to get a lot of compensation. Even if black loses the ko, black should be able to get a decent amount elsewhere on the board. Okay, so that's all I had for this game. I hope some of the stuff I said helps, or at least makes you think about the game a little bit differently. Since you didn't mention this ko on the right side, I'm guessing you probably didn't see it, so hopefully this will be a little bit enlightening or something. Yeah, and the other big thing was, I think this was the only move that I really didn't like. This R6, I really would have preferred it for the center, or to be more aggressive against the two stones. But other than that, I think, Martin, that you just played well. It's sorry I didn't have more to say, because, I don't know, you won the game, so you did pretty well. All these thick walls, it's difficult for white to handle. Yeah, so I hope this has been a bit informative, and if anyone has any... oh yeah, I was going to do... so I mentioned this on my stream yesterday, but when I watch chess games on YouTube, because I like to follow chess sometimes, especially during the World Championship, which was pretty exciting this year. It was closer than last year. But I like to watch the King's Crusher YouTube channel, and he's British, and he ends every video with comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much. And I'm going to be plagiarizing that. So comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.